In our increasingly divided political climate, we are inundated with issues that raise controversy and conflict, from monuments to masking, from policing to protest, and yet few issues have endured as a source of disagreement, quite like free speech. Given all of this, we might be surprised to hear that a monument commemorating free speech at UC Berkeley has been left mostly untouched and ignored over this past year. Actually, I wonder if you even knew that such a monument existed. In fact, you're looking at it right now. In the late 1980s, a group of UC Berkeley professors held an art competition to commemorate the 1960s free speech movement, intending to create a monument that they would then gift to the university. The winner of the competition was an MFA student from the San Francisco Art Institute, Mark Brest Van Kempen. Van Kempen's design called for a 6-inch column of air rising 60,000 feet from a circle of exposed soil. The column would be contained by a circle of granite inlaid flush with the cement and brick of Sproul Plaza. Engraved in the granite ring would be the following claim: "This soil and the airspace extending above it shall not be a part of any nation and shall not be subject to any entity's jurisdiction." Van Kempen's monument to free speech, column of earth and air, was hugely controversial. Many people wanted a more classic style of monument, one with statues of students protesting, rather than a nearly invisible piece of conceptual art. For their part, the university administration refused to accept a monument that might honor the student activists. In fact, a condition of accepting the gifted artwork was that it be addressed only to the principle of free speech, and that the free speech movement not be named in any of the press materials. Thus, a monument to free speech was censored by the University of California. Column of Earth and Air was eventually installed in the southeast corner of Sproul Plaza, the heart of UC Berkeley's student life and the location of many famous speeches and protests. Off-center, the already demure monument becomes even more invisible. But why place it there? The free speech movement was launched in 1964 when Jack Weinberg was arrested for distributing political pamphlets on Sproul Plaza. Prior to that school year, such activity was allowed because it was believed to be on the public property of the city of Berkeley. Over the summer, the university administration discovered that Cal's property line extended to the sidewalk adjacent to Bancroft Street. And thus, Weinberg's political work was no longer permitted in the very same location it had been allowed only weeks earlier. Dozens of students surrounded the police car attempting to take Weinberg away and spontaneously sat down on all sides. What followed was a peaceful siege of the police car that lasted 32 hours before Weinberg was allowed to go. The police car was used as a platform for speeches by many figures who would become prominent student activists in the years to come, including UCSC's own Bettina Apteker. If we look at these photos together, we can perhaps see why the monument lives where it does. The monument's meaning, however, is another story. Just how performative was this inscription? Did it actually mean that students could ignore the law or even university rules? The granite circle is only as wide as one body with arms extended, perhaps two bodies in embrace. The column itself, the one which is not subject to any jurisdiction, is only 6 inches in diameter. What part of ourselves can inhabit such a small space? Perhaps a foot or a fist, perhaps our breath. In Van Kempen's column, free expression exists simultaneously in a space of absolute freedom and the complicated realities of our deeply imperfect society, full of unfreedoms and inequalities. The monument is a reminder that in America, at least, our freedom to speak, our freedoms in general, are bound by an array of jurisdictions, borders, and property laws. After all, Jack Weinberg didn't cross the university property line. The university property line crossed Jack. As I continue my research, I will be looking deeper into how property laws shape our ideas of freedom, both as a metaphor and as a real constraint on our enactment of our freedoms. It may not be our freedom to speak that we are arguing about when we argue about free speech, but rather the problems of property.